yesterday, it just feels like there's no opponent that they can't square up against. It just comes down to, are they going to do it by map 1 or are they going to do it by map 3?
That's the only thing that's scary about it, Alan, because I tweeted it yesterday. I said, Minnesota, realistically, their series don't start until map 3 because they tend to start slow into these hard points. Even though they started slow yesterday versus Toronto, they still only lost by 10 points. But then you get to the search and destroy. You get 6-1. Backs against the wall. You need a miracle to happen, and then that miracle starts that momentum. Then they go through the map 3. They get to the map 4. And then when it gets to the map 5, it's anyone's game. So if you're Minnesota, you just need to make sure you start off hot today because the way that aBeZy was playing yesterday, 112 kills in the series, that guy was all over the damn map.
Well, it's about to be a first look where we'll see Atlanta take on Minnesota here this season. And again, it comes in our minor tournament with Protocol as the opener. We'll also finish with it as Minnesota often goes 5 in case that is indeed the case. But to start things off, nice patience here from the Røkkr, finding a couple of nice kills to allow them a chance to contest, but the follow-up from aBeZy right off to the races again.
Yeah, it's just too much pressure right here from Atlanta FaZe. You had aBeZy hit that zip line, find that first kill, so now they're going to be the team soaking up this P1 time, but a couple kills going in favor of Røkkr. At least at 3 dead. aBeZy, the only player all spawn, has to take his time. And with only 20 seconds left, throw your nades, throw everything you can to take them off for this one because you want these spawns for next.
Indeed the case. Although, a couple of nice eliminations from Minnesota will allow them to start making a move up the map. Simp trying to get annoying, and he will find Geo up top. That will put a lot of clearance into Atlanta, trying to secure these spawns and rotate over to P2. Problem is, you have kind of this split spawn situation for Minnesota, and they're taking a pause. They know that Simp is still flying in the back line, but from the front, Minnesota finding the kills they need, leaving Draza by himself, but he's done well to get his first, trying to secure the second, and he'll be able to do so. Oh! Draza lighting things up off 3 in a row.
Oh, now this potentially is going to lead to Atlanta FaZe putting them in a little bit of a trap towards the backside of tower, unless Paulex has something to say about it. Paulex and Nero combined for 3 around P2 and instantly shut down that opportunity for Atlanta FaZe. Now with 35 seconds still to go, you have routes being developed. Draza doesn't want to give up all this time, but does he check into his lab? Yes, he does. Astro puts down shots. At least gives the comp, but Minnesota still in control.
And Geo, after a little bit of a slower start, right back into the mix, able to lock down a lot of the scrap time. 18 seconds to fight for. Minnesota feeling a bit of pressure from the backside of tower. They'd be correct. That's where a lot of this hit for Atlanta is coming from. They just don't fully get a read. Estriel also now in a bit of trouble as he's going to have to just sit here, hold his life, and wait for P3 to open. Little up and over. Cellium tries to play off the zip line, but Estriel finding elimination allows Minnesota a chance to break through the old time and still put some rotational focus into play.
Yeah, that's fantastic plays right there at Estriel. The Soul Man pushed up, was just hoping that he could get a couple kills to make it easier for his teammates to rotate into that hard point, but even in a man-up situation with one player from Atlanta FaZe spawning out, they still are in control of those back spawns, and they're here for a break attempt.
Play coming in quickly though from the backside. aBeZy Cellium first 2 kills allow them to get into lockers, and Paul cannot find the trade, leaving Geo by himself. He's done well to cleanly get the first. Nades up top will keep him at bay. The hit though on the way for Minnesota is delayed, trying to play through this sidewalk position. aBeZy's already gotten a read on it, and aBeZy almost able to turn that into a couple. The information though known will be followed up on, and Atlanta will keep this contested while Minnesota continue to play for the spawns.
And the spawns are going to be flipped out, so Minnesota potentially walking away with the final 15 and the rotations to new, but aBeZy going to be here nice and early. This is what Atlanta FaZe tend to do well on this map. Just rotate early and set up properly. And with that double, they're already going to have that man advantage, so they should be set up for this money hill.
Yeah, looking good for it. aBeZy's double turns into a third for Draza. Now looking for Estriel shut down. Atlanta in the hard point for now, but Minnesota starting to build their setup. A lot of it coming through spiral staircase, but you do have a player on the pinch. That's Nero. If he can find one, that would be the go call for Minnesota to try to break on it, and he does find the eliminations. Now it's all by action on the hard point itself. aBeZy trying to finesse off the YY. Cannot find Nero, but Draza will confirm, and Atlanta will hold.
Just trade after trade after trade after trade. It was Atlanta that starts it off. It's Atlanta that's able to finish it, but for how long? The setup is still weak. Everybody from Minnesota drops down through zip. They find every single kills and execute that break to perfection. The second best break team that we have on this map. It just came down to if they can fix their setups. And so far for this final 30, they should have a nice little lead going into the second half of this game.
And I think just to kind of bullet point, the difference between Minnesota and map 1s this weekend compared to what we're seeing right now is they're so quick to follow up after these 3v3 situations turn into like a couple of players just remaining by themselves. They're so quick to get off respawn and follow up with their kind of secondary hit, so to speak. Atlanta, though, a nice job to kind of close out the last hard point and still initialize this new one. They're going to get this thing back to around 20 points before Minnesota has a chance to try to break.
Oh, yeah, but that's a big kill coming in from Gio, reading the pinch coming in from Celium. Now you can just invest your stuns, invest your nades. Try to take him off of this P1. Astro at least catches an opening through mid-gun, but it's still Atlanta FaZe soaking up all this hill time. The ARs are holding down the long-distance lanes. Finally, Simp is going to fall, but with all that map control, you're instantly going to hop right back on in.
Yeah, the SMGs for Atlanta doing a nice job of just providing some pressure, but more so making sure they're not keeping their focus purely on playing for kills. Lots of good objective focus coming through, especially from the side of Simp at the moment at 37 seconds early. Cell, nice little bounce off, just making sure that Grandma stays safe over towards the Atlanta side of the map. And with 8 seconds remaining, a lot of pressure onto Minnesota to try to find a way to rotate over to P2.
Yeah, they're going to be late. It's another rotation won by Atlanta FaZe, but last time it was an early break coming in from Røkkr that kept this hill scrappy. As it's all out aggression through top mid. Better trades coming in from Atlanta FaZe. That leads to 3 dead. And last player is as well going to fall. And look what Atlanta do on your mini-map. They flip those spawns. One player in Estrio is going to spawn out. Actually, a split spawn is going to come in. I don't know if Atlanta is going to be able to handle this.
Yeah, they don't. I was about to say the exact same thing. It looked like Atlanta had done the exact right idea of trying to kind of flip the spawns and trap Minnesota in the back, but a couple of the members that you called out do spawn behind this setup, and that allows for a very quick re-break from Minnesota, using the best of the situation that they were given. Astro playing inside of Billiards, looking to possibly move through P1 to try to get some sort of an opening on the sidewalk behind 3. The remaining focus on the scrap time, though. Oh, BZ gets caught trying to play through field side, and now Minnesota are going to clear the floor and have a chance to start to rotate with Atlanta spawning behind it old.
Yeah, this is where you want to get aggressive with the kills. Fortunately, if you're Astro, you're not ready for selling with the knife on the top of the zip. He's just trying to keep control of that power position, but still a 30-point difference. You already have Minnesota, a couple players contesting towards the back end, but Gio is going to fall. Astro at the same time. Last guy is Nero. Has to try to be a hero. He gets taken care of. Now Atlanta can stabilize.
Can they find a way to turn this into a Money Hill situation for them? That's the big question. Opening 20 seconds is free. Draza, just kind of gets caught trying to reposition. He's got a number of Røkkr members now in front of him. Still does well to collect another elimination. That leads now to Abizi having to track back and follow up with Simp, and so far so good. But Estriel on the backside, making a bit of a mess of this. He's actually just able to walk right back into the hard point, find himself a second, leaving Draza a bit limited in terms of what he can do with help, and well, he doesn't need it. And double for him comes out. Minnesota still trying to battle 15 seconds of scrap.
Yeah, but Draza's thinking ahead. He knows that the next hill is a money hill. I'm going to get these 2 pieces of kills, but I'm going to rotate nice and early, and thankfully it works out because he gets another double and then sets up Simp for the final trade. So Atlanta FaZe again doing the fundamental aspect correctly, but this time the setup needs to be a lot better. Minnesota broke in with ease last go around.
3 opening eliminations come through for Atlanta. Only player missing is Estriel, and he's trying to flip the map around, but easy. Nice little bump out. He's going to find himself 2, and that pretty much stops the hit before it can come through. Simp also tallies Estriel in the shaft, and that's going to be enough for Atlanta to catch their first lead as we jump on over to an Atlanta FaZe listen in.
Nice, Mara. Go. Yep. Dude, one's weak, 2.
I'm ready. Two rope.
Get better. I got one more. Hard deal. Weak. I hit him twice.
20 seconds.
2 on time.
Listen, I'm helping first.
Nero's top zone.
Top zone? Okay, I'm playing mid then.
I'm playing. Let me chill left.
Yeah.
Just play new guys.
I'll see him.
Yeah,
Yo, he's tower.
I'll see him top mid.
He's mid somewhere. Listen, he's top tower.
Yeah, I'm pitching their tower. Tower. Never mind. I'm making no.
We played 3
You can play shower. I'm nading.
I see him too.
Helly. Nice.
Let's pull to that.
Yep. Yeah, one time mid gun. Right side. Stay down time. I got naded. I need. That's one on foot.
He got me. He's front tower.
Oh my god, he must got 180. Bottom ammo.
Time
Nice. I'm nading over. I'm nading time. I'm from sooner now. Near time. Yo, sidewalk. Nice.
Nice.
Right side top ammo.
Yep.
I'm right top. Two come in. I'm going
No. Here we go. Yeah, they're here on the ground. They're
yeah, already close chair. One top mid.
Yeah, other one's Helly.
Push up. I'm pushing up right now. I'll get time. All top row. Yeah, man. I'm one shot.
Let's go. They're working mid.
I don't have your
Mid
mid
on you. Two mid on you.
Jump down on me. Geo, I hit him twice.
Nice.
Geo on time.
Tower steps.
Nice. Good shit. Get three.
Top rope, one shot. They're on time. Top rope, ammo.
They're spawning out.
Hey. We have
Chapter
low.
I have your top mid.
Look,
Yeah, I'll get left.
I have all low.
Hurt.
Listen, I have your mid, right?
I have your left. Yeah.
I have all.
I mean, one ammo.
Low, near, dead.
Low
Terrestrial. He's in P4.
About to say for a minute there, Jay, going from 4-1 again, it just kind of felt like Atlanta were just trying to find eliminations. Oh, they're back here, they're over to the side. But now finally through P2, they get about 35, 40 seconds worth of time and a chance to possibly put this away with a rotational win to new.
Yeah, that's been every single P2 so far in this game. Atlanta have been the team early on into that hard point, but finally they're able to get a chunk of time off of it. Still a 20-point difference, a fight for the spawn. Simp finds a freebie onto Nero, but they know that the pressure's gonna be over towards Simp. Now you put yourself in a 4v2. We just gotta trade out. We know that they're spawning front.
Let's up top, Geo down low. Wow, the damage is so good. Geo win that. Celium's the last one remaining now up top in Minnesota. Call it a 2v4. They essentially break that one down low, one up high, and a chance then to reclaim the lead.
And this is where Minnesota have to show improvements on their setup. This is where they tend to struggle. Easily broken into, and Atlanta FaZe are picking them apart one by one. Already 2 dead. Nero's getting spotted at least at 3. Make it all 4. Spawns are out. Atlanta can still win.
It's gonna have to be Paul around the back and then Geo from the side door. 240 to 217. Here comes the pinch attempt. Geo finds his first. Simp tried to confirm the trade, does, but cannot contest the hard point. Minnesota likely to extend this to another hill, but Simp's gonna try to hit some of the finesse time. That will limit Minnesota on their approach down. Abizi gets a read over through the spiral stairs and maybe a chance for the last 8 seconds to come through here with Celium lurking in a corner.
Oh, but Celium's not gonna find that kill. Now it's Abe's turn. He's also gonna fall. Draza finds a double. Still even in the numbers of the trade, but here comes Simp, the MVP of last season. Can he make a play? Still in the hill. Need 5 seconds, and they might have done it.
Sure may have. Now it's got to be just through the side door. Geo stunned up. He has to touch. The contest is in. Cell, he's able to find the kill, and no one else can touch for Minnesota. Whoa, Celium once again. It was a staple of the Atlanta hard points in the first weeks of the qualifiers. He came up big when he needed to most, and boy did he ever once again there. Not just to go completely amiss over the top of P3, but down low at the very end, finding 2 last eliminations for Atlanta to secure the 250.
Yeah, fantastic plays from Atlanta FaZe from start to finish of that game, Alan. We knew that going into that, it was going to be a battle of the rotations, but I wasn't expecting Atlanta to basically win every single one. We're talking about early in towards the P4s, early in towards the P2s, flipping the spawns at the right time for the P3s. And even though Minnesota were able to keep themselves into the game, it was hero plays coming in from Estriel, dropping down bottom and getting a 3-piece. Nero had his moment. Same thing could be said for Paul X. It's just when you're not rotating early, when you're playing a team that's very difficult to try to break on in, because Atlanta have showed improvements on their setups, they were just thinking a step ahead of you. A very close game again for Minnesota Røkkr, but unfortunately they fall short. Now they have to rely on a search and destroy, which is not going to be easy because we saw the improvements out of Atlanta's game yesterday.
Yeah, really a big point. It's just, again, when you look down the scoreboard here, though, to kind of recap onto this opening hard point, we were kind of talking a little bit before, getting on the air here, that this Minnesota team, when they suffer in the openings of these series, it's largely due to the fact that they're just getting flat out outslayed. And some of that, I think, comes to the byproduct of they're trying to be mixy. They're trying to, get a player around the back completely unknown to what the setup may be for Atlanta, which, like you called appropriately, they were winning a lot of the rotations. They were at these hills first. I think especially P2, P4. I think every single one, Atlanta was there first. It's just, you kind of heard it in the listening to FaZe. They were just not able to keep track of where Røkkr players were. A couple of members slipping through. You're reacting almost in real time instead of trying to get proactive until you get to those last 2 hard points where Abizi and Celium really do a lot of the legwork for FaZe to close up.
Yeah, it's just those slim mistakes, Alan. Like if you go back to the second half of the game around that P2 where they got all 4 kills, but no one was in a position to sit in towards top 10 or top trips window to block that back spawn. And then that completely catches you off guard. You were thinking, okay, we can get a full 60 here, trap them in towards the back, chain it to P3, and we blow this game wide open. But just those little things for Atlanta FaZe are continuously making the game mixy for them. And for Minnesota Røkkr, they're forced to play Mixie, Allen, because you're not winning rotations. A lot of these gunfights are a lot more difficult for you. When you're trying to rotate in towards P3 and you're spawning over towards Grandma's, you got to get past every single window. You got to hit a long route to go through underground or try to flank sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's just so much more difficult when you're not winning rotations or putting yourself in a position to have easier gunfights due to that lack of fundamental play.
And I don't know if we'll see the Celium play here over the top at P3. He kind of just gets lost. He just sits up top, finds, I think, the trade onto Estriel, and no, we don't actually get a chance to see it in the final play, but he's up there, and it just looked like Minnesota forgot about him. And then all of a sudden, he just walks down the staircase, finds a couple, allows FaZe to break through P3, give them the numbers advantage to rotation to 4, and then, of course, at the very end, I think he finds 3 of the final 4 eliminations to get that little bit of a stretch that Atlanta needed. But it can take a while. I mean, Minnesota came out cooking, kept the lead all the way until we got halfway through our second set of hills, really all the way through our second set from completion. But that little play at the end, I think, is the big game-winning moment there for Cell again.
Yeah, when you need to drop down and you need a player to get a couple kills, none better than Celium. He's been leading the KD department for like the last 4 years in the CDL. Finally starting to get back into the groove of things, and I need him to do that, Adam, because on my fantasy team, he's been costing me, bro. He's been costing me. Thank you, Celium, for starting to turn up so far this week.
No way Jay's out here just rooting for fantasy points. I
need
think
some,
I'm
bro. I'm
this
getting
week
cooked.
Are you actually? I'm 1-1.
Yeah.
I got Alley this week on our Breaking Point Fantasy. But let's talk about the search and destroy. I think in particular, let's keep the focus on Minnesota right here, right now, because the results really aren't convincing on this particular map mode combination for either squad. But again, just kind of in normal Minnesota form, the results you can look at for Røkkr was a 2-6 loss in map 2 versus LAG. But then this is also the map that they were able to take versus LA Thieves 6-1. So it's just like, which search and destroy are we going to get from Minnesota today?
I feel like we're always going to get a consistent game out of Minnesota. It just depends on if they actually want to play in map 2, or at least turn to map 2 and make them in their mind thinking, all right, we're in map 5, guys. We got to lock in right here. Because they always tend to fall short early into these rounds, and versus a team like Atlanta FaZe, you cannot do that. It's very difficult for them to allow you to bring yourself back into the game because they like to make those mid-round adjustments. But I think if you're Minnesota Røkkr, you just got to stay true to what you are on Vault, which is great in the opening. Dual win percentage, great in your post plants, and also great in your retake situations. Teamwork needs to make the dream work here.
Yeah, both teams really very successful when it comes to the open build percentage on this map mode combination. And this time in round 1, it will tilt in favor of Atlanta, with Simp finding the open run to Nero, who just tried to catch timing to contest that bomb plant. Estriel, he's not going to be able to challenge from that angle. That's been held. Trying to reset, try to find a way to open things up backside P2, but look at this Atlanta post plant. They know that someone's going to try to hit the flank. There's the information, but Draza, he's not going to be aware that there are 2 members here. Minnesota find the trades, Jay.
Oh, that's fantastic plays out of Estriel and Geo. Find both of those kills. Now you know that the Terra's going to be trapped in towards the site. You got a couple stuns, a couple nades to potentially make your push on easier. And Geo and Paul X successful on the retake. This is what they do. It's not one player trying to make a solo play. Obviously, we started off the round with Nero just jumping out towards pool. But even in the 3v4, get together, let's work together, and a successful retake comes in early in for the game for Minnesota. Fantastic plays.
I love the idea for Minnesota that Estriel playing over towards the balcony stairs, he gets seen, and you can't just take that challenge by yourself to break through that deep post plant over towards that gold building and backside P2 by the hot tub. So someone comes through and helps, and Draza just doesn't expect it. And then I think that was Geo who came with part of that play. Then he backs up to play through the hole in the wall and just drop in to get the pinch underway. So really well done by Minnesota on the retake, as now they go to their first offense.
RC waiting out the nades, trying to not give early information what their play is going to be, but Atlanta FaZe beating the aggressors through the middle of the map. Easy, he's either first blooded or finds the first blood, and there Geo's able to take him down for now the 3v4.
Nice little bounce pass from Draza, though, cooking up the frag to take the trade in play. Sent quickly around the back. Oh, this timing is perfect. He's able to find Paul for free. So now it's just down to what Nero can do with Estriel inside the site. Nero tried to play a little bit deeper, back over towards the B control point. Not to be. So it's just down to Estriel. 1v3 moment. He's been tagged up from both sides. Good first, but nothing more he could do. Flat out overwhelmed as Atlanta respond with a defensive retake of their own.
Yeah, it's just so difficult, Alan, when you're the players inside the site and all your teammates fall outside towards pool, because then you start to panic a little bit. You're already in a man disadvantage. You're going to try to at least make a play there. And Nero, unfortunately, walked into the preem of Celium, who loves to play over towards that B site at those void doors for the push through. But it all starts with Simp catching that timing onto Paul. If Paul's able to finesse that a little bit longer, at least play his life a little bit longer, potentially Estriel has a different route on in. But once he falls with 25 seconds left, someone had to make a play, and Atlanta, with too many numbers, were able to pick them apart.
Bomb picked up quickly. 3-man hit up towards the top side of balcony. The drop in likely to follow. When we were here last time, there was an early contest from Minnesota. It came out of Nero. This time, it's all focused for Røkkr, trying to reclaim mid-map. And they've gotten up towards the double doors. This comes down to how do they use Estrel's position at B Street to try to, again, surround this retake.
Yeah, this is going to be on Draza and Celium. Hopefully watching each other's backs. Paul Lex is able to fly on in and catch a double. Now another situation where the SMGs that are in the site have to try to make a play. You have Simp going on the pinch. Abizi trying to watch over the site, but Abizi falls. Simp 1v4?
Yeah, maybe. It's happened before, Jay. It's just not looked like this. Not gonna happen this time. And that's just a good timing. I mean, Abizi's in a good spot. I like the idea of him trying to back up and play through that B control point again, but his feet get seen. He gets taken down quickly. But that guy top left taking a sip of some, I don't know what, probably a cup of Joe or something of the nature. Paul gets 2 on that little push through backside P2 in electric fashion.
Yeah, and I don't like that round right there out of Atlanta. Like, it looks like it was 2 people just absolutely turtled in their spawn. Like, they were scared of the pressure coming in from Minnesota. And it completely catches them off guard. Team shots come in for the first kill. Team shots come in for the second kill. Again, teamwork is making the dream work for Røkkr. But if you're Atlanta FaZe, you cannot afford to turtle in your base like that. You got to be the aggressors, because remember who you are.
Yeah, it's got to be something along the lines of them just trying to counteract what Minnesota had done on their previous retake. This time, it's Minnesota not taking the jump in to pool. This time, they push into Marble, and Atlanta was not prepared for that at all. First 2 kills. Clean. Bomb going to be planted, 4v2.
Now, Simp and Celium left the clock, trying to clutch on up. Trophies are already down, so nades and stuns are not going to be impactful here. It's going to be all about the gunny. And with all the information that you currently get over towards Pro, you're probably thinking they're all in the sight.
Yeah, Simp is just going to try to drop on into this with Cell, trying to create some noise over towards Palm side. And actually looks like they want to try to play this one together. This is one of those, hope you can just slide and chow through. Semtek's out. Simp's able to find 1, but the follow-up from here, they would have to line up, and that's just not going to happen. Love the idea. First 2 kills come through, get the plant. Everyone stay inside the site with the help of the trophy. No worries.
Yeah, just 4v2. You're playing your advantages. We know that. I have 4 people alive. You have 2. If we trade it out, we're definitely going to have most likely 2 people left at the end of the round. But Minnesota do not slow down with the momentum that they were able to build even after losing such an intense map, number 1. They're showing prowess so far in this S&D. A takeaway mid-hallway. They're setting the tone early on versus Atlanta, and Atlanta right now haven't had a read on it. On their offenses, they're turtling their base. On their defenses, they're not prepared for the aggression in front of them. So Atlanta need to switch it up quick.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it, and you've called it out now, is you can't just hold off of that P2 backside pull post plant. And this time, it's a quick, aggressive hit, trying to make its way through balcony. Nero's stun, I do believe, or Semtex may have gotten their tag. It slows the play down a touch. Paul not quite able to lock the shots onto Abizi. So bomb planted, and the post plant for FaZe is way different this time.
Yeah, this is going to make it a little bit easier with all the map controls they currently have, but the timing might come into play. Draza only able to get 1. Abizi effective on the trade. Now in a 1v3 is Gio, and he gets picked off, and that's what you got to do right there if you're Atlanta. Do not allow them to dictate the game versus you. Just simply hitting that stun onto Nero on the bottom side of the catwalk steps forces them to not be the aggressors. And then you take that map away, you get the bomb down, and you hold strong on that setup for a great post plant to secure that round.
And Draza with an SFG, we've seen that a couple of different times from FaZe on their offense, where he wants to get a part of the play, and he almost kind of serves as the bait for a player like Abizi. In that situation, that was exactly the case. But Draza finding the opener, Abizi confirming his trade, leads to a 2-for-1 exchange that you'll take every day of the week and twice on Sunday. 3-2 the count, though. Minnesota still hold the edge. And Atlanta, trophy system defensively, they're going to use that as a bit of a catalyst to try to get aggressive of their own, but Nero slides out, finds 1. That's okay, 3v3.
Yeah, Atlanta says, screw this. Their offensive rounds so far have been way too comfortable. Let's make it a little bit chaotic. So, trade effective on that early 3v3. The bomb is not instantly going to go down, and now you're going to sort of get a read on this. We don't feel any pressure over towards pool. Selim's going to start to back up his way, at least watch that crossover towards B. And he might get that info that Paul X is here.
It's all about the timing, and there it is. Both players will scout one another out. Estriel was trying to rotate the bomb over to B. Stun check from FaZe's defense does land, and that's enough for Minnesota to be dissuaded from playing on the B site and get right back in towards A. Bomb being planted. Defense has to rotate once again. Draws will be the first one here.
I love that rotation right there to Røkkr. Draw the attention to the opposite site, hit the vault door instantly. Now put yourself in a power position with the trophy down. So now Atlanta trying to find some success on the retake scenario. You have one player in Geo who's hitting a route, though, that might cause a problem.
Yeah, Draza's been seen, so with that tag, Geo can actually take the long route and play a different clutch position in case it starts to go awry. Here comes the hit. Sid finds the opener. Estriel just being all slippery. Bottom side at A. Geo, last one left now. He's got to play the cross. All the shots initially aren't clean. It does force a team kill, but plenty of time for the defuse. I love the idea from Minnesota, but simply put, it's just the opener on the retake from the front for Atlanta to turn the tides that whole post plant.
Yeah, that's all it comes down to is the opener. And I feel like it was great heads-up play right there from Atlanta, because I'm pretty sure whoever was playing over towards Hedges gets that info on Geo that he was playing around that gold area. So instead of completely investing all their cookies to try to find that kill, they work their numbers advantage in towards the site. And then eventually, once they realized Geo's last player alive, he has to be in a long-distance gunfight. And he was sitting on the opposite side of Vault with that AR. So those mid-round adjustments, they come in quick for Atlanta FaZe. And now that's what, 2 to 3 rounds in a row for them?
Yep. And I think just kind of going back to that moment, Geo had Draza at one shot, just could not quite finish the kill. So small difference makers, leading to some major implications as Atlanta will go right back to the normal approach offensively. This is actually the same thing they ran round 1 with Cell playing over towards gold. He's in a long-range fight versus Geo, and Abizi just pops up, finds the trade. Still a 1-for-1 though, not bad, and Abizi's now stuck at the bottom side of the vault doors. He's gonna get isolated, and Estriel finds the kill, leading to a 3v2.
So now Sim's gonna try to make a play. Gonna hit the rewrap through vault door. Still 25 seconds to go. You're gonna have Draza at least from pumps. Try to get an angle on the bomb, but Sim is gonna be on you.
Yeah, and Estriel will keep one safe, but Draza gets the collat for a 1v3. He just has to deal with Estriel. Opening shots are decent. Draza back to full health. Estriel pushing. How does he find that elimination? Draza can't believe it.
Oh, nah, Alan. That can't happen. That cannot happen. We're talking about hitting him with a majority of your bullets when you're on a head glitch. He has to literally run at you and kill you. And yeah, Draza, the same way you look is how I look. Jaw dropped on the ground. Because those are ones that you gotta win. You found the angle, take him off of the site, but then you get destroyed, brother. And everybody from Atlanta FaZe let him know a little giggle's coming out, but that's definitely one that you're gonna go back and be like, damn, that one was mine.
Yeah, I mean, all day. The fact that he gets the collat in the first place didn't even seem all that likely based on where the bomb is being defused, but what a play from Estriel. Now on 3 in a row at 8-3. Bomb carrier as well for Minnesota. And he's just gonna throw off a couple nades, make sure this A site stays clear. Sips RCXD not gonna have much of an impact on this unless he can find a way to hop it over. And well, he does. Paul will drop. Bomb's not planted yet.
Wait a minute. Oh, I thought the RC car was gonna walk in there and find a kill, but at least you're able to turn it into a 3v3. Straza was able to take down Paul, but now that bomb is getting planted, Selim gets all the info that no one's camping over towards Pool. So how quick does he decide to make this play? Because eventually Geo has to get into it.
Yeah, and that's the real timing point here is who finds each other first between those two. Meanwhile, Draza, Simp from the front, Nade helping out for Simps first, and he's going to rewrap this. They're going to find Geo. Yeah, he's going to get isolated here. There's just no way Geo gets back to this play. Surely not. Simp all over it. Tie us up at 4 apiece. Brilliant bounce back for Atlanta.
And I was ready to say, Atlanta FaZe, we're calling an RC car. We cannot afford to get blooded, but thankfully Draza was able to catch that angle on Paul and then use all the info that Selling was able to give them. Like, guys, we can push through Pool. You can show a little presence through mid-vault. Thankfully, Simp was able to find that kill and get out. But then when Selim has all that info, they also isolate the player in towards the site. Geo eventually tries to make a play, but at that point, you already lost where Simp was.
Yeah.
He was able to hit that flank to secure that round. It's got to be a lot quicker right there for Minnesota Røkkr because you found that first blood. You can't really afford to die. You got to play your 4v3 man advantage.
It's just so tough because that RC stays alive for so long. I think they're so worried about it. Stun over the top. Nero does not get affected by it. Second RC's on the floors. Atlanta try to get aggressive through this. They don't find the isolation, but they do at least take care of the RC quickly. And they've got a lot of map presence here. It just comes down to how much do they really want to utilize this. They're quickly right on into B. Sim's going for the plant.
Oh, man. And they're actually going to get this objective down, too. But unfortunately for FaZe, he just gets too aggressive in that situation. The bomb being down at B, it's not going to be a successful, easy retake. But thankfully, you find 2 kills, 4v2.
We've seen clutches from this position before. Selling him over the top. Does he have an angle at this? I don't think he does. Nero's already hopped for it. Spam shots from Draza, takes down the bomb carrier. Gives Cell a chance at this. It would be a 1v3. Secondary diffuser's on already, though, plus the suppressing fire for Minnesota finds elimination, and Røkkr will go to map 2 point.
Yeah, that's just perfect execution right there from Røkkr to realize where the pressure was coming in off the info you gained off the RC. There had to be a lot of aggressive plays coming through the middle of the map, but then with them using that RC, that allowed them to play their spawn pretty slow. So everybody was prepared for the pressure to come in towards B. Even though that bomb gets planted, already 2 players in towards R to take down a BZ, instantly find that kill onto Simp, and then Celium thought he had an angle from the top side of gold, but 1v3, everybody with an AR preem in you. Yeah, GG, Minnesota, game point.
Still feels like this is, without question, not a guarantee at any stretch of the imagination. 10-4 though for Estriel. He's been all over the place. Simp at 10-6 on the other side. Minnesota quick to once again play through balcony. Look at the response though from FaZe. First time we've seen this. They just hit through bottom vault and are surrounding in towards A. Will Minnesota get a read on this?
Nah, they're not gonna have any info. No idea what the setup is looking like for Atlanta because they didn't invest any stuns or nades through the middle of the map either.
Yeah.
Now you're just thinking potentially just throw a couple shows and we can work this bomb in towards A. And Atlanta FaZe have yet to peak.
Yeah, and that is all the information they could possibly need. Draza trying to fight off Estriel, who still wants to take that 1v1 at half health. Nero right there for the team shots. Trophy system down late for FaZe. Still holding on to this A site. No motion for Minnesota towards B. They want to try to stick for this. Estriel tagged. A BZ bulk challenge, punished for it. And now you've got a 3v2, 4v2, pardon me. And there's a full wrap from Geo. Estriel with the pistol trying to get the 13, but Nero finishes him out. And Jay, I'll let you ask your question because I think everyone's thinking the same thing. Whoa, what was that?
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that play right there of a BZ. We know how stellar he is with that SMG, but you don't know how many players are going to be sitting outside of pool. You walk into 3 different preams, and they were all prepared for that slide out. And you basically gift them a freebie kill and then force him to be stuck in that bomb site by himself. Yeah, I didn't get that one. I did not get that round there, but it's easier when Minnesota are finding early success for that first blood. The fact that they stalled out that round the way that they did and then used the stun, used the nade to get that info. Okay, they're playing in towards site. Let's bombard our way in. Everybody hold an angle, and we'll most likely open up with a kill. And that's exactly what they did. Every single round that Minnesota were able to walk away with, they just played to their advantages, and it worked out flawlessly. This is what makes them a stellar search and destroy team, able to tie the series up at 1.
Let's go back to that BZ challenge. 2-9, 5 first deaths. Do you think that's a situation where you know you're down a man, you know you've got someone tagged, you know you're stuck inside of A, you feel like you kind of have to take a play, or do you feel like that was a little bit more on the frustration side for BZ just not finding much success in this map?
Well, I understand having to try to make a play in a man in disadvantage, but like that play was not it. I'm telling you, that was not it. Like you'd rather stay inside with Simp and potentially set up a team fire on the way that they're sliding on in, because you still have Celium on the backside of the vault door, still watching sort of that crossover towards B, but assisting his teammates if they did walk into A. It's just you gave yourself no chance there. You gave your teammates no chance in the 4v2, and Minnesota take advantage of it.
What a series so far. I think a lot of people would see this one on paper and say Atlanta should be cruising, but hey, this Minnesota team is gritty, man. You cannot rule them out. It just feels like one of those things that you just don't know which Minnesota team you're going to get on the day. But so far, as we head back to the desk, Røkkr have looked strong as we go to a 1-1 tie into the control.
There's a possible 15 maps available today as we have 3 matches remaining in the minor. I have a feeling this one's going all 5 after watching Minnesota in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota controlled like aggression. These guys are so good. Estriel calling game. And Alan, to answer your question, listen, Abizi blacked out at that.
You got to, right?
He blacked out. I don't know what he was doing challenge.
After your 5th first blood, sometimes you're just like, any fight, I just need a kill at this point. All right, Abizi off on a search and destroy after being the hero a day earlier. Ali, overall, how is Atlanta playing?
Atlanta's playing all right. It's just Minnesota's playing better, especially in that search and destroy. Estriel, that is the best performance we've seen from him so far, especially in a map number 2. And not only that, they capitalized on getting those first bloods, which was really important in this series because that's how Atlanta FaZe has been winning S&Ds.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Arts and Crafts with Nameless. It's time to draw some conclusions, and today, Ann, I want to know, why is Minnesota so dangerous in search?
Yeah, so a lot of people see them and they just go, man, they're just so aggressive. They're just running around like it's AW because of the Omni movement. I'm telling you, it is controlled. So let's jump into the mini map and let's talk about this round from them, okay? So for Atlanta FaZe, you see on the mini-map, this is like the standard push. You get some players down low bottom vault to plant that bomb, and you usually have an island player that can watch like your outer pool and pick up players coming through mid or through the mid windows, right? So let's clear this a little bit, and let's talk about what Minnesota's trying to do. So Minnesota, what they have here is like, we're gonna take space and we're gonna isolate your island, right? So you have them raised, watching like the push through here to see if anybody tries to get all the way to their base and like make a play. And this guy, he's gonna be watching B Street to make sure they're not going B. So you've cleared B, you cleared your spawn push, and these guys, 5 and 7, they've shut down mid, right? So that's Paul X. They're gonna, now once they get all that information, like, hey, nobody's B Street, nobody's pushing our spawn, right? We're gonna just go straight towards the island, and we're gonna kill these guys that are trying to play here and pick up kills, because now, since we've gathered all that information, we know exactly where you're gonna be, which is down here playing on that island. So let's talk about it, and let's watch it. So Paul X and Nero, they say, nobody's mid, all right, nobody's B Street, all right, nobody's our spawn. Yeah, I know what you're doing. You're playing the A-bomb, you're doing the default strat, and we're just gonna fly at you. And meanwhile, while we're flying to the island, we also have our teammate Estriel going around the deep spawn to make sure nobody's playing in the back base. Once you kill both players in the island, you know you probably have them trapped on bomb, and if not, they've scattered out, and you can just simply use your numbers. Estriel goes, picks off the player vault, and now we have a 3v1 in a situation. We're just gonna overwhelm you. So these guys clearing information, taking space, and just figuring out exactly what you're doing in the first 10 seconds of the round.
Do you think they seem to be on the same page, exact same time they round the corner to Chow in the back? So is this a 3-2-1 Chow situation, or are you just in flow state as a squad?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, it is a 3-2-1 Chow situation. It's like, all right, we're getting ready to go, and they've just done it so many times in practice where it's like Estriel knows, like, once I get this information is when you guys go. So those two push, and Estriel just instantly goes around the back, where players do sometimes play the depths. He would have killed one if he was there.
Røkkr, always well coached. You can clearly see the S&D work is paying dividends. They are here on a championship Sunday, and they are guaranteed top 4. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, though, from this game, too. We mentioned it, 5 first deaths for aBeZy. Great call out there by Shift. That seemed to be a difference maker in Atlanta's search game from yesterday to today.
100%, because when you look at the search game from Atlanta FaZe, they're a pretty good attack team, but only because they're getting those first bloods. They're top 4 in attack, number 1 opening dual win rates on attack, but they're struggling on defense. So overall, the fact that not only Estriel showed them something that they weren't expecting today, but the fact they were able to get 8 first bloods on the side of Minnesota Røkkr severely put a stop to Atlanta FaZe's plans.
All right, Amos, I see you smiling over there. You're not used to seeing 1 on the board after the first 2 games. Will we see a game 5 still? Do you think it goes to the distance, or does Minnesota finish it in that second hard point?
Minnesota, I think it does go game 5. I think Minnesota win this control, though.
Okay.
They've been very good at control. I believe we're headed to vault, a map that I can't wait to just watch Nero. So observers, if you're hearing me, can we get a little bit of Nero play in our last year?
N-E-R-O. He'll be like number 7 or something. Put him on the screen the whole time.
I completely agree with you. I completely echo what Ann said. I think now at this point, because Minnesota was able to win that map number 2, we're definitely heading to a game number 5. I mean, just looking at the overlay, like the control, obviously you have to lean towards Minnesota Røkkr. They're 4-2 in control right now. They're crazy good at attack, which you don't see often in the league. And vault, obviously, the most reps.
All right, chat, I need to know. Put a 4 in the chat right now if we finish on red card. Put a 5 in the chat if we see another game 5 here at Miner number 1. It's time to find out, though, can Minnesota win their 3rd straight control? We go over to Shift and Study.
I love the point from Ali talking about Minnesota's just extraordinary efforts on offense. That's definitely been where we've seen typically the series start to turn for this Minnesota Røkkr squad. On the other side, though, Jade, there's a bit of like almost borderline confusion because this Atlanta team has not been able to find much success. I think in particular, like in the slaying department, like not doing well with average lives on offense, and they're really not doing all that well when it comes to the overall metric on defense either. So it feels like they're just not able to keep up with the opponents that they find, especially here in Vault.
Yeah, and I think that might be a first time ever, Alan, when we're talking about Atlanta FaZe struggling in slaying, because right now they're sitting at 11th overall in the league. They don't find success when you talk about the tick segments or anything like that on the attack, and that's due to the way that they played the map previously. We haven't seen them on it for a little bit, but last time I watched it was when they lost the Falcons, and it was just nonstop. All right, we're pushing forward, no one wrapping back, no one trying to do the dirty work, and you're gonna get picked apart every single time you try to play Vault like that. Going up against a squad in Minnesota who Ali said was #1 on their attacks. They're great in the segments, they keep up in the slang, so it's gonna be defenses versus offenses, because Atlanta, at least versus Miami, they showed improvements on their defensive end.
which is impressive because Miami has been great at this map mode combination.
Yeah.
So let's see, will that hold for another day here for Atlanta? Already off the rip, 3 eliminations just to the 1 for Minnesota, and now with that follow-up, Atlanta could really put the pressure on the map early. We're already just down to 60 seconds to fight.
Oh, Bonero with a big opening kill onto a BZ. Now you can show a little presence over towards that pool area. Gotta work this overextension, but you also need to find a couple of kills. That's already 3 in the feed for Atlanta. Last player alive is Estriel. And he now just has to play his life, hoping that his teammates can find a couple kills out of spawn.
Yeah, Gio's able to clear out 1, but look at the rewrap here from Atlanta around the back. Yeah, Estriel's just got nowhere to go. He's gonna have to make a decision here soon because he is being surrounded, and he will drop. So 3 in a row now for Draza. 5-1 start for the AR. Cell, SMG in hand, a little bit of a battle with Nero, but Atlanta are cleaning the floor up. I mean, we're talking about 5 total eliminations so far for Minnesota with only 30 seconds to play.
Yeah, they're just manipulating the game the way that they want to. You have Draza who's pushed out towards gold, influencing those spawns from Minnesota over towards poolside, forcing them to overextend, and you have every single angle cut off. Even selling him with an SMG is going to be able to get it done. There you go. My fantasy team is clicking today, baby. Atlanta FaZe are running it up.
I mean, 6 total kills for Minnesota. This is more like it if you're a FaZe fan. Just, I think in particular, watching them not overtake the map. They're just holding on to key power positions. Let Minnesota run into you. Don't try to force it, and it turns into a dominant first defense.
Just way too easy right there for Atlanta, and it makes it a lot easier when your break-off is great, too. You find 3 initial kills, you're allowed to take B straight away from them completely the entire time, force their spawns over towards waterside, and they just did not want to waste any time wrapping back to fight that player over towards gold because it's not very successful to find success over towards B. But if Atlanta FaZe can trap you like this, yeah, you're not going to have a good time. Now can they figure it out in the attack because this is where they tend to struggle.
Yeah. But that's a heck of a way to reset the momentum if you're Atlanta. Not deterred based on what we're seeing on the cams of Minnesota, still smiling, still talking it through. It's just one of those things that, again, it could sometimes be difficult to put a finger on what this Minnesota team really is doing right to find these wins. A lot of it, though, has been by ways of just outslaying their opponents on control in particular. But with a bit of a pause after the first offense essentially created nothing, now it's just down to can they put together a solid defense? And so far, the answer is yes. Sip still on 4 and will be traded by Estriel. And Estraza gets figured out over towards the B zone. Everything resets. 26 plays 27.
Now, what can Estriel get done? He knows that the pressure's going to already be on him. Tries to stall them with the nade. At least is able to find one. He gives the comms teams they're slowly but surely working this overextension. You do have 1 player in Draza who works through the double door. So if you are Minnesota Røkkr, camp your corners and try to find a couple kills because you need 1 set of kills to put them in that trap.
Yeah. BZ just finessing, able to hop on in, put a little bit of pressure on towards A shots with Minnesota defense, starting to make some sort of action occur here. Nero down low, little finesse, little wiggle, little wag. Eventually taken down by Sim. The first tick of progress likely to be locked off of this. Draza will back up to make sure of it. Second now on the way with the trophy system to keep him safe. But Paul is able to find the first from this pinch, and he's able to take down a second. So Cell's now the last one left, empty from getting that second tick.
And so you just want to play your life, try to hold your mid hallway. Give some info to your team on the way when they're coming off spawn. But BZ opens up with the first. You have info already on 2 players. I don't know if you forgot about Estriel towards the point, but he didn't forget about you. He's able to make it count with a double. Draza gets traded, and Atlanta FaZe with only 25 seconds left. Only have 1 segment. You got to move.
It's going to have to be a flood likely from the front. Simp tries to dive in, taken care of. There is no secondary challenge there, but Atlanta actually catch a couple of the Røkkr trying to push through that. Paul still holding on. He's on a double. Gio finalizes Celium, and with only 8 seconds remaining, unless Simp can do something incredible, this will likely be the end of this offensive attempt from FaZe. Trying to get the touch. Will be a chance. Simp holds it at 0.5, but no further action will occur. We'll stay through our first 2 rounds with only a single tick accrued by both of our 2 teams collectively.
Now, I guess you would take that if you are Atlanta because you were able to have that defensive shutout in round number 1, but just the way that they play their attacks is just way too fast sometimes, Alan. You cannot afford in control in general to lose 2 or 3 players at the same exact time because then it makes it very difficult for everyone coming off the respawn because as soon as you spawn up, you're going to know where that pressure is coming in depending on where you are. And at that point, if you don't check the right corner, you're just wasting a lot of time on your way on in. They did have 1 opportunity to stack that point and earn those seconds, but just not watching the proper angles. Nades come over the top, and then Minnesota did not give it up after that.
Yeah.
We're all tied up at 1. Atlanta back on the defense, but Minnesota, you need some segments. You're the #1 team for a reason. Show me why.
Well, tough, difficult gunfight right there between aBeZy and Paul. That's the only kill, though, that FaZe were able to tally. Geo up and over, trying to track down aBeZy, not able to slip away with his life, so quickly, Minnesota on for their first tick of progress, or at least that's the attempt. Is there a chance for FaZe to challenge us? Do they want to? They're setting up. There's the pop of the door. Estriel finds the first, Nero a second, and now you've got a chance to stack here for more.
Just like right there in that decision for Atlanta, it looked like they wanted to influence the spawns, but then contested very late. Like, you had the number situation, but instead of everyone challenging in towards the point, you take long routes and you get picked apart. Now Minnesota able to extend the game clock. 2 minutes and 10 to work with, up by 2 lives. Keeping the game mixed is exactly how Minnesota want to play this.
Nero's able to find draws up through Pool. That will now allow Røkkr to keep their focus purely on the front. Difficult gunfight for Geo that aBeZy wins. That now allows Atlanta to take control of B Street and beyond that. They've got Simp deep. You got aBeZy re-wrapping back over through Vault, and the only route that Minnesota have available right now is to push through Palms, which is not what you want.
Oh, and aBeZy catching that double is instantly going to shut down that play. Now, if you're Simp, you can just kick your feet up over towards goal, because all you're really doing is blocking those spawns to make it easier for your team. And aBeZy said, screw that search and destroy. I'm more of a respawn guy, sitting at 15-9. Right alongside Drazu, 16-9 with the AR. They are bringing it on the slaying aspect on the defensive side. You just got to continue to do so.
Although Geo, this is a great position for him to try to hold. He is deep through Art. Teammates trying to stretch across the street side by statue, but Geo just cannot find the real estate to stay alive. Clock will pause. Minute 16 of the clock. Wait, Paul's able to find the kill on the cell. And with that, a follow-up onto aBeZy. So a chance here for Nero to hold on to the zone. Estriel trying to zone. A chance for the first take at B to get locked, and it will. Follow-up for Minnesota. Still looking decent. Estriel back and forth.
Oh!
Right. What set of shots those are for Estriel? Off 3. Second tick lock. 3 members on. Nades are starting to land. Contest is in, though. Oh, my goodness. Atlanta have fought back and wiped the floor. We have a 9v9.
And now you got to slow the game down if you are Atlanta, but also don't give up the map control, because already Estriel is in towards Vault. With the minute left, a lot of time to work with for Minnesota to develop on these long routes. But you want to try to stabilize over towards the street. Big kill from Celium to at least find that first. aBeZy watching the pinch. He actually whips out an Amos to hold down this angle. Love the heads-up play.
Still plenty of time on the clock for both teams to work with. Here comes the development of Minnesota through B Street. Cell just giving them a workout. Lots of tags are in. Now trying to move forward. You know you cannot lose track of the zone. There was not depletion of the progress. aBeZy off the pitch, though, saves the day. One more to grab. It's a 1v1 with Nero. Both players sliding back and forth.
Oh!
Able to support at range. Now they can get on to pause the clock again, but a team nade comes through. Cell, he's been a hero in these moments before. Can he do it again? Nade is out. Contest is in. 3v3. Paul finds the opener. Simp with the response. He's able to take that into a second. A 1v1 with Nero. 30 seconds on the clock, but it's all about who wins the gunfight. And Simp cleans up the final 3.
Woo! What an ending to that round. Minnesota made them work for it. And that only happens because Atlanta FaZe started to turtle in their base a little bit. Allen, every single time you're coming on spawn, you got to check your nade. You got to check your stun because Minnesota are already in your face. But just trade after trade, nade after nade. Trophy system's not down at the right time, but the 1v1 Simp v Nero. The heroes for these teams recently. Simp with the regen. Stun is able to connect. You have the advantage and you commit on it. Able to clutch up on the round for Atlanta. That got scary.
What is it with Simp on that side of the map? The 1v4 from a couple days ago. And now that's essentially a 1v3 control clutch. And Minnesota will still hold an edge, all things told, at least based on how the ticks have been captured. But look at the breakoff for FaZe. Right over towards the B zone. It's got Minnesota in a bit of disarray. Simp trying to just continue the momentum on the zone, but Paul eventually gets the trade of Minnesota's defense. Now can set themselves up.
You already wasted 20 seconds trying this push over towards B, but at least you still keeping it up in the kill column. So going blow for blow, but Celium now still holding down this B Street while the rest of the team is applying pressure through the mid. He's finding kill after kill, but that clock continues to wind down.
It's kind of puzzling. Like, Atlanta are still trying to throw numbers in some regard at this B point. We need 4 ticks of progress, otherwise we're gonna be in the round 5 offense again. 3 in the feed for Røkkr. Abiz is the only one still alive. We still don't have a tick of progress yet, and there's not a lot of ground to work with here, J&A.
Yeah, because now they have to work out of their spawn and check every single corner because Minnesota players are already pushed up into your base. Thankfully, they're able to find that trade onto Geo. You gotta look here, where the hell everybody else is. Abiz has just been playing his life the entire time, dominating over towards top cap positioning, but now this is an opportunity for Atlanta with those 3 kills to stack this point. Don't give them away back in. Stack it.
Abiz, he knows that Geo is playing somewhere on the outside. Just comes down to where has he gone off to. Second tick of progress looking like a guarantee here, but here comes Minnesota for the Røkkr attempt. It's going to be a pinch on both sides, plus the drop down from balcony at the same time. Abiz still holding, but the kills for Minnesota are too strong. The clock will continue to tick. Abiz is the only one left standing. He's got to make a play, but he's going to get caught by surprise. Minnesota, everything in front of them. FaZe trapped in their spawn. Minnesota, if they can continue to keep this play alive, are going to have the round 5 defense that's looking likely for it.
Yeah, it's only 10 seconds left. Simp and Draza do combine for 2, though, so game clock again at a pause at A. But Nera and Paul not trying to give that one up for free, but Atlanta FaZe find those kills, able to extend the game clock. Now you just need 1 segment to at least tie it up in that category, but Minnesota might not give you an opportunity.
And keep in mind how that first round went with Atlanta dominating Minnesota. If they get this final tick or this 1 tick they need at B, they would likely have the life lead on the tiebreaker scenario for who gets the round 5 defense. But that is not at all an immediate concern at the moment. 12 plays 8, 45 seconds on the clock. Atlanta do have vault control and this back palm tree. Paul's doing the work, trying to tap the toes, taking care of trophies, Cell sliding, but cannot stay alive. First tick still empty.
Basically, the last push coming in from Atlanta. You got to worry about Nero already in your base. He's able to find 1. No more respawns now for FaZe. Has to be picture perfect from this moment on. Throw your stuns, throw your nades, try to find an initial kill. The slide on the point, but Geo, Estriel, the rest of Minnesota holding their irons and are able to stabilize on the defense and guarantee now themselves defense going into round 5.
Well, to keep in mind, the start of that 4th round, Atlanta, I mean, you called it. They probably took about 1:20 just trying to play over towards B to get that first tick. It wasn't with Mitch, like, full focus. It was like a couple of players here, a couple of players there. Takes them a long time to eventually get back over to A. And the Røkkr defense, that's when they come alive over the top of the B zone. So what Atlanta has struggled on in the control often just can be categorized as offense. It's been bottom 3 essentially in the league across all categories. They have to find a way to win a round 5 offense here if they want to try to go up 2-1. Otherwise, Røkkr will be in their best series control position so far this year.
Yeah, we're going to need more teamwork out of Atlanta FaZe. None of this solo pushing up the B street, solo cap in, you getting picked off, losing full map control like that. Let's stack together in towards these points and trade out these gunfights effectively. And already into this round, they find 3 dead. So the first segment should be guaranteed as well as the second.
Geo just making sure no one pushes through that mid double doors position. And now gets up more towards the top side of the balcony. Taken out immediately by Simp and a team nade. Keeps Atlanta largely away from stacking the VZ. Oh! The front door, huge double. And that will likely keep Røkkr from putting a challenge together, though Estriel still tries it. He finds 1. Hold on a second. They could still possibly contest, but Abizi on 4 in a row will get the extra 60. He's already over towards the B zone. Good tempo here from Atlanta.
Yeah, I love the transition. Everybody showing presence over towards B Street. Somebody throw a trophy to try to keep Abizi alive, but we're trying to take away Art. Simp, unfortunately, only able to find 1 there, but Abizi still finessing. Still showing a little bit of presence though over towards B Street, even with Minnesota stabilizing, but at least you do have a nice little lead in the kill column if you FaZe.
Cell was in trouble, stays alive for a little while longer. Simp trying to hit a pincher on the backside through statue, not going to work out. On the zone is Abizi, down to 6 points of health. He gets taken out quickly. Estriel holding on to the vault door. That's good for a double, and then Cell, Simp, all drop. Here come Minnesota pushing back forward.
That's where Atlanta FaZe, again, another situation where it's cool for everybody to be watching the cut of one player to just pause the game clock. But if we have multiple players on it, we force Minnesota Røkkr to play a lot quicker on that retake. They are taking their time, realizing how slow it's going up. Somebody throw a stun, somebody throw a nade. Eventually, we're going to get that guy off. And you get everybody else that's watching the cut, and it's just easy for Minnesota off the retake scenario. Now you already have players like Nero pushed up towards water, forcing Atlanta FaZe to consistently sprint forward.
Yeah, but Nero is way out of this play, though, so the players from Minnesota from the front need to try to get some sort of a lock-in. Trades are out. Atlanta, they're going to get a little bit of a wrap here. Hold on a second. Nero's got to be a part of this play immediately. Finds the first. Long-range shots towards Simp are also good. Still, though, Atlanta trying to stay alive from the front, but unable to get much ground to work with. And that will be a moment of reset as Nero just tries to scramble and stay alive in the Atlanta spawn.
Oh, and he just continues to be a nuisance, Allen. He's moving from pool over towards goal, back over to pool, and now he finds himself on 5 in a row. Atlanta only have 8 lives remaining. 2 more good pushes at this, and you still have to locate where Nero is. Thankfully, Abizi takes care of him. But with only 45 seconds left, we have to try to develop this push. You have players going on the overextension. This might be it.
And I love this from Røkkr. As soon as Nero drops Estriel, he puts himself into a sneaky spot, and it's just no possible way that FaZe can get set up or structured, and now you're down to your last couple of lives. Estriel a bit greedy, punished, but still, you know where the hit is occurring, and now Nero's back around the flank once again. Paul through the van windows has got to look at a couple of FaZe members, and he's dealing with it nicely. Minnesota continue to be solid in the map. 3s take the edge in this series after one of the craziest rounds of control we've seen in the third.
They're just too icy, Allen. I'm telling you, they're just way too icy. And Atlanta FaZe are gifting them it right on the silver platter. Like the fact that we found the initial 2 kills. We got 1 person still on the point. I understand we have everybody with an AR, probably Simp roaming around that middle map watching that cut, but if we stack these points a little bit better with the kills that we're getting, we're forcing the opposing team to play a lot quicker and not have to just slow down the decision making. Okay, it's going slow. I'll throw 1 stun, 1 nade. If that guy dies, we're good. Like Atlanta FaZe need to be more productive as a team on the attacking side, because it seems like once they give up the map control, it's like 1 or 2 players trying to fight for it back. Like they allow that other side of the map to completely not go into their favor or not even use it, and it keeps back to biting them. You got to start working as a team, or at least setting up plays as a unit to set up these pitches, because when you're consistently sprinting forward, you're getting trapped every time.
And legitimately, this is I think what you can look at to really kind of use a visual reinforcement to what you're saying, Jay. Look at the non-traded kill percentage for Minnesota. 20s across the board. And you got to keep in mind, because the first round was such a wash, that there really weren't any opportunities for non-traded kills to come through for Minnesota. So call it what it is. A lot of those numbers come in the back 4 rounds. And that is a crazy reference point when you talk about players that are 26, 27, 28 kills total, and 22, 23 of them are non-traded. It just goes to show that Minnesota continue to find this finesse game that Atlanta cannot keep up with, especially on the control.
They're just making the game so much easier for them, Allen. We're talking about, you said it initially, like Nero eventually has to get into the play. He knew what he was doing. He was blocking back pool, so no one could work that overextension. So his ARs who were sitting in the top part around that front side of the van, they can be cooling it. They don't got to worry about their pitches. And then eventually he flanks it. He pushes out towards goal, catches that 2-piece. Then eventually sets up Atlanta FaZe and now spawn over towards pool. So they're in hell every single time they're coming off the result, because it's like, you know someone is in your base. You just cannot locate him. And then when you allow these SMGs to get lost, when you also even allow the ARs to get pushed into your base and get lost, it's just not going to be easy. And going forward, every single control that you play, Atlanta FaZe needs to get better in that aspect of just realizing, okay, we need to stop. We cannot continue to go forward. We got to take care of this guy out of our spawn and then work in sync to get out of it. So eventually we have team pushes going forward.
And it's just one of those things that, again, just based on how this map started in round 1, it looked like Atlanta had that pretty much locked in tap. I mean, everything was perfect. They weren't over-challenging. They were putting them in a bit of a spawn trap situation. You're forcing choke points. The offensive side never really kind of came to life, though, for Atlanta, and a lot of that, I think, was just really kind of showcased off of that round 4, where it's just time and time again, spawn after spawn, we're just trying to kind of create something at B. We're down 4 ticks. Let's just, you know, let's do the more normal thing, play over the top of A. But we have to transition. We could talk about that all day long. We need to start discussing how Røkkr about to play, though, here, Jay, because for both of these 2 squads, it hasn't really been a great map for either of them. It's usually been picked against them. They've, of course, allowed it to be in the pool, but the results have not been good for either team. What are you looking at here in terms of what this map 4 is going to provide?
Minnesota had some close games on Røkkr. They lost a 250 to 240 versus LAT, where Envoy was able to be blessed with one of those stage spawns, and they were able to close it out at that hill when they thought they had him trapped in towards the back. And then their other loss was versus Boston, who I think is one of the best Røkkr teams overall. It doesn't matter what map and mode it is. They're going to be one of the best teams at that map. So they have played them tight. But I think based off what we saw in map number 1 and what Atlanta FaZe are good at, even though they really didn't show it versus Miami, is those rotations. They suck so far at their setups. They're easily getting broken. But if you're Minnesota, Minnesota Røkkr, you need to be the team to initiate those fundamentals. You need to be the team early on those proper setups so you can soak up this time, because Atlanta FaZe, they basically got a 100-point club last time they spawned in here.
Well, let's take a look here once more time here, just talking more about this Atlanta FaZe roster, because it does feel like this team has kind of turned a new leaf when it comes to how things have gone prior to the minor tournament versus what we're seeing so far throughout the day and really the weekend, I guess is a better way to put it. And in particular, a lot of that has come through in their hard points. Yeah, there was the embarrassing loss that they had faced against Carolina, but everything since then has been very, very comfortable, maybe with the only exception being when they played here against the Miami Heretics a couple of days ago. So what has been learned? How do we kind of get this Atlanta FaZe team ready to go? Because I'm glad that you brought up for Minnesota. Yeah, they're 0-2, but that series they played versus Thieves on this map was one of the more dramatic comeback efforts that we have had to this point in the season. So you know for a fact that this Minnesota team, if they just don't start down 0-60, they could very easily dominate this map as well.
Yeah, and right now they're definitely not going to start down, because that's 2 back-to-back grueler maps that they were able to build the momentum off of going into this red card hardpoint. So Minnesota Røkkr trying to move on to the final here at the Minor Chip Sunday. First one ever. They're going to not start off on at least the preferred side for this P1, because it's all about this head control.
Atlanta will own that for now. Estriel, tough battle over the top with Simp, which he loses. Pinstripe goes the kill. Feed final word, though, owned by Celium, and that will allow Atlanta to get right back into position, and more so. That's not even just in position. They're starting to get aggressive on this with opening time going their way.
Yeah, you want to try to flip on out. You want to force Minnesota to spawn behind of that new hard point. It's going to be popping over towards soccer. That's why you see a BZ, everybody basically running an AR initially to start this game, because you need this hedge control. And so far, they're finding all the kills to dominate this side of the map, but they still have not yet been able to secure the spawn. They got 30 seconds off a P1, you'll take that.
Yeah, 100% you will. And we still got a couple of players stringing together eliminations. This feels like your normal Minnesota start. A little bit slow, a little bit rocky. Nice little bounce back here, though, cleaning up the old time and having a chance with Paul spawning relatively close to put some contest in early. Draza already in trouble. Here comes the push shot. Wow, what a gunfight win from Draza, plus the read on the backside, but the pinch is in. Abizi dropping from the top ropes. He's able to turn that into a double, and it's a 2v4 with Celium getting involved for Atlanta to secure their break.
Yeah, and this is picture perfect, because now you have Minnesota trapped into the backside of this hard point. This is not the ideal situation you want to be in, but they somehow, some way are able to find 3 kills. Now with BZ, he was thinking I should be able to get a couple freebies, not really soak the hell time, but now you got to do both. Find a couple kills and try to work your way into the objective. Not able to take down Nara, but at least keep Minnesota off of that time for a little bit.
It kind of feels like 6 of 1, half a dozen for that overall hard point. Like Atlanta, they get that nice little surround. You have a BZ jumping on it. They get the clean kills, but really, they don't get a ton of time off of that. So, yeah, Minnesota are still sitting on just 16 points, but that could have been a lot worse, as both teams will now fight for rotation. Atlanta, the first one in the hill, but Minnesota working on some spawn control, and they're finding the timings to open up some of the space to rescue.
And trying to show presence over towards the staircase side. Geo effective on the chain. Geo effective on 3 in a row. Now the back spawn secured for Minnesota Røkkr, and if you're Atlanta FaZe, you will take that, because you bombard your way on in, use your stun grenades, and find a couple kills to open up this play. That's going to make it a lot easier to trap them in towards the back for the rotation to nil.
Yeah, the SFGs for Minnesota just not able to stay alive in these tight corners, just trying to play this contact through staircase, not working out all that well. 10 and 3 from Abizi. He is flying and frying right now. Until that moment. Trade is out. Cell's able to find 3 off the regen. He's looking for more. Not going to be allowed to get it, as Draza will finish off Paul X, and this will be a 70-point game early for Atlanta, rotating over to New.
And now this game can start to get out of hand a little bit, because P4 on this map for some reason tends to be a money hill, especially when you got Minnesota trapped in toward the backside of Eskies. This is not fun that they're currently having. Now Atlanta FaZe again win another rotation over towards New. Celium is going to be the farthest player pushed up and fall. So Minnesota just need to find another couple of kills to even cross over towards the stage.
Yeah, really good moment there from Cell, not only because he finds a lot of kills, but he actually spawns right back up into place. But Minnesota, even with that in mind, they don't drop a single member on their break. I mean, Atlanta was in a perfect spot. Cell spawned up, looked like he was able to watch across, but Minnesota barely even got shot back against, and now all of a sudden they've got a critical break early in this hard point.
Yeah, that's been a struggle. At least the one time we watched Atlanta FaZe play on this map is their setups easily broken into. Minnesota show why right there. Because this was supposed to be an 100-point difference. Now it's only going to be a 50-point difference. As Minnesota walk away with that final 30, you force Atlanta FaZe early off the rotation. Astrio on 4 in a row. Just trying to keep themselves into this game, but P5 tends to be super scrappy. You need 2 wave of kills before you can even hop in the objective.
Geo got to read that there was still a play over towards ST side. Estriel at ticket. Nice shots on Adraza through the wall. Knowing that this is Cell last alive. Good prediction from Estriel. Shots are out. Nero there for the help. And the break already in once again. Nero on 6, overwhelmed as Atlanta will just charge up the escalators and now try to make their play over towards Geo, who's doing a nice job. Again, just holding on to this ticket position. It's keeping Atlanta back pretty decently, and the follow-up is absolutely perfect for Røkkr. Still 30 seconds to fight.
And they have all their bases covered, and they have aggressive angles at that, so Atlanta FaZe are just not having a good time. Astrio now on 7 in a row. Feel like all of Minnesota just flipped the switch. So now they have got themselves right back into this game. Should only be about a 10 to 15 second difference if they suck with this final remaining time, but Atlanta FaZe, when I thought that they were going to start pulling away, just simply getting outclassed by the setups of Røkkr.
I mean, it's another one of those rotations that you can just throw the spark note on it. Atlanta won every single rotation. Yeah. But Minnesota continues to find these miracle breaks. That's how it feels. 1v1 goes your direction, all of a sudden everyone floods, you find every single kill, and you only have a 20, 30-point game-ish. Atlanta, though, back over the top of P1. Just like we started, back and forth. Kills for either direction. This time, though, Nero off the regen. Trying to follow up, but Celium, a little bit of timing off the pitch, turns the tides, and Atlanta will clean things up with a chance to still fight over the top of P1.
They're still trying to fight for these spawns. They want to maintain this backside. It's currently in favor of Atlanta right now, but you see the route being developed out of Estriel. He's going to allow his teammate in Geo to spawn over towards Hedges, but Simp is able to pick on up. It's looking like Atlanta have everything figured out. They understood the situation, at least the 3 dead, them soaking up all this P1 time again. This is their money hill, and it tends to not be like that on a map like Røkkr.
No, for real, that's so true. So again, Atlanta continues to find ways to build up this lead. Nero playing through street side. A Beezy, tough battle with Paul. Takes the win, and now Beezy off the region has Nero in his sights. Not enough ammunition to finish the kill, but Nero's got nowhere to go. And with that, Atlanta will swarm. Split spawn situation here, though, for Minnesota. Do they find a way to try to set this up as a panic? It does not look to be so. Draza's already ready for this Minnesota back spawn.
And this is where I expect it to be a lot cleaner of a setup here for Atlanta FaZe. You have every player accounted for. You had them in the trap. And the entire kill feed is lighting up red. It's all of Minnesota Røkkr. They do not want to waste time just pushing you head on, headstrong towards this hard point. You want to try to work your way on out, so they're just allowing Atlanta FaZe to soak up all this hill time.
Minnesota need a money hill badly. You can't just let this last 20 go, though. That's the problem. The timing of this is not going to feel great for Røkkr, because Atlanta, with this steep lead, 100 points, can just play from the advantage. They can just give this up, play slow, long routes, and get paid for it. That's exactly what's occurring. Simp, top Hedges, knows he's got Estriel somewhere in the vicinity, finds him, and it's 3 straight kills for FaZe. Moving over towards the parking lot, they will get over 200 points here.
And they already got to read that there's definitely going to be a split spawn here, because we still have players like Draza pushed out towards old Hardpoint. Trying to get a couple freebies through the front end, but Atlanta's still up by 100. They can play it any way that they want to. Already forward dead in the feed. You have Draza blocking the spawns, and again, Minnesota Røkkr trapped him towards the back.
Yeah, this is just a blender right now for Røkkr. Simp's got Nero, weak, easy follow-up to turn. Oh, maybe would have had the burn, but ran out of ammunition. It's enough damage, though, for Cell to get to work. And the lead stays at about 100 points. Minnesota finding some favor on the hill itself, though. Problem is, Draza's over the top. Follow-up from Simp feels likely. And it will be. So again, it's just extra seconds here and there for Atlanta. The new hardpoint spawning to their backs, and they could try to put the game away here.
Yeah, this was the hardpoint, though, that Minnesota found that early break to keep themselves into the game last go around. So can they do it again? They just need a couple kills to go their way, and the entire kill feed is the opposite color than they were looking for. So now Atlanta FaZe fully set up here to try to close out the game.
Best that we've seen Atlanta, I think, this on the weekend in terms of how their hardpoint has been. Again, just not losing rotations. A couple of weird moments here and there, but for the most part, this has been as convincing as we've seen. Paul down low with a pistol. That will work. Avizi just trying to get to work on the wall banks. Minnesota will confirm the break from the front. So this hard point continues to be a bit of an issue for FaZe, but still the gap is over 90 points. And it just feels unlikely that Minnesota pulled this all the way back.
Yeah, nice, because they have to play for the hill time and find the kills. Atlanta can just slow the game down and isolate all of these players. That turns to 3. That last player is going to be Paul Lex. He's still managing to stay alive, but the wall bang's good enough. Well, at least take him out the time for now. Still, Minnesota trying to keep themselves into the game. Still a 70-point difference. They do find a couple kills off the rotation, and we saw last go around Atlanta FaZe were easily broken into this P5 as well.
Problem is, you've got a couple of FaZe members that are just kind of playing on these islands that are going to be difficult to convincingly win out if you're Minnesota. So far, so good on the hill itself, though. But now Draza off this off angle gets involved, helps out Sim for his double. Minnesota fighting back, though. Hold the numbers advantage over the top of the hill. Stays open for the time being. Draza traded. Long-range shots for Simp are good as the ARs are fully out for Atlanta, and now they've got numbers to start making the play for the hill.
And so many kills need to happen for someone to even think about that objective. It's been non-stop white time for about 30 seconds so far here at P5. You will absolutely take that if you are Atlanta.
Yep.
After Minnesota with that double, you need to work your way in. AR shooting left and right. Here comes the pin from Sim. Almost plays with his food, but is able to find the kill. But Minnesota, again, keeping it scrappy.
Yep.
Only going to be down 50.
That's a nice wipe on the scrap time as well. So now you can take all of your focus over towards new, which they are finding the eliminations that they need. Hold on a second. We've seen heroics from Røkkr on this map before. Can they do it again? They're going to lose the hedges, but they're finding the kills at a prime time to see how Røkkr are coming to see if they can pull this back.
Top 3 last hit. He didn't try you.
You might get him a globe. You have globe.
I'm gonna go. I'm trying to get it.
I'm watching
I'll do the globe.
Globe.
I'll get time. I got our globe. He's our globe.
I need their head door. I'm winning. I'm laying down door. One shot globe.
Okay, I'm playing him. I'm playing him.
Globe one.
They're double. They're double. They're double. Last guy. Or no, you can't draw their globe.
They're deep down
Draw the outside ticket.
I'm gonna die. Outside ticket drop.
Nice.
Mid door.
Right now to be the end. There's that time in mid door.
Barely. Mid door.
Nice mid door.
And then they're double.
I don't see him, bro. You might have pushed that ticket.
I'm trying to get time. Outside ticket. I got
Get ticket.
One shot left.
I bet.
Once you be out there.
One shot ticket.
Top three mid double.
One shot eight.
Alright, we're good.
One with their head.
Stand powder down.
I'll try to finish it.
Come right ahead. Middle cell. One shot. Yo, outside the ticket. One middle.
I don't see you got time. Go in.
I got and on you. And one mid door's weak.
One close me. Top.
Draws the time.
Win flag. I'll pay Dan flag, bro. I'm trying to
He's
get
weak.
double.
He jumped out of time. He's buying hot dog.
BZ 1.
Go sit dead.
BZ 1.
He was buying hot dog. That's your shit.
I'm trying to
They're
go
going to small front.
Yo, close down here.
Running out of time, Jay, but they're making a hell of an effort at it. Minnesota's going to stabilize here. Nero up top tries to clear out the front. 242, 208. Atlanta trying to break on through, and it's Draza for 3. That will likely do it. One more effort around the back. The finesse is decent, but regardless of the status on this hill, Atlanta is spawning close to the next, so Minnesota need to wipe the floor. They need to do so right now.
Yeah, they need to go quick because, like you said, Atlanta fans are going to have the spawns over towards next. They are finding kills off the rotation. They only need 3 seconds. It's going to be on Nero, and he falls, and that is going to be another game 5. And Atlanta FaZe are able to push it. And I expect it to end no other than this way, Alan. We're going to a game 5 every time. Minnesota Røkkr in the series, game 5.
Guarantee. Send it. Wow. The comeback effort, though, again, that feels very similar to how they played Thieves from back before the holiday break, where it's just like nothing is going right. You're losing every single rotation, but you're finding these cheeky breaks. It turns into one like 40-second hill for you. Gives you some extra lease on life, but the problem was, and you're going to see it, you could build a Walmart between a lot of this game flow chart that we're likely going to see early, because Atlanta FaZe were up 100+ points for the majority of that game.
And it tends to be like that when you talk about Minnesota Røkkr and their Hardpoint game. They go by 100, they have an insane comeback to give it a grueler ending to that game, but just you can't have starts like that, Alan. Again, another Hardpoint where they're just simply getting outclassed in the rotation aspect. We put ourselves in a power position in some of these situations. We're probably going to stand a better chance, especially when you got towards the end right there. You're finding kills around that middle map. You want to dominate over towards head, but then you allow Atlanta FaZe with the lead that they had to just play for those kills. That's why you take a look at the game flow, and it just started getting out of hand. Even when you thought Minnesota would get back into the game, because P5 for some reason was a money hill for them, which just tends to be very, very scrappy. But everything else, Atlanta FaZe just dominated, man. Just holding down the power position, a lot easier of those gunfights, and now they're able to force the game 5.
Jay, you can see it right here on Atlanta's side of the chart. From 105 to 110 the first time we were at P5, and then no points at all the second time that we were there. So Minnesota doing a nice job in terms of the efficiency metrics, but only on that hill.
Yeah.
That's the only bit of a downside there. The only other side, and you already kind of hit on this, you want to talk about efficiency metrics. Perfect has been the name of the game so far for Minnesota in Game 5. They have not dropped one yet. A couple of them have been in reverse sweep fashion. We'll see what they can provide for us on a very difficult map for them. Protocol Search, the map number 5 here in our first upper bracket semis in our Minor 1 tournament. Atlanta FaZe trying to get to the grand finals. Minnesota trying to surprise the world to do the same. We'll find out who punches their ticket after we come back after the break.
The Esports World Cup is an official partner of the Call of Duty League. Upgrade your game with the Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League.
They're playing record. They are both water. One shot. There's two water. They went red. They went red, Clay. They? Yeah, they went red. Both red. Both inside red. Both inside red. They went front door. They went front door.
He's hopping. Watch his water.
Watch his water. I have your word. Back door.
They
They didn't see you yet. Nice! Let's go, Clay!
Yes, sir.
To make the play. It's been all about him all tournament long. It can come down to a 1v1. Oh, he's not. They're going to pounce out 04. Great damage in. It's going to be all on 04. They drop him. Lucky with both. Fickle is roaring and Heretics win. And he lets the crowd know. Silence. Big map 5s that Miami have gotten over Seattle Surge.
Skies dies, and then in a 3v4, effectively, New York Subminers slid on through.
There's two. Give me that son. Dead. Nice. Last one there, son. I'll block. Oh my god.
Map 5 affair for our first semifinals in Minor 1. Atlanta FaZe, Minnesota Røkkr. And you say the words Minnesota Røkkr, and I think now we can just subtitle it Map 5. It just feels like we're always gonna get there. So far, Jay, it has been flawless for them though. 6 total series played. All 4 of their wins have happened in map 5s. Talk to me.
These guys are icy, man. It's as simple as that. The fact that they tend to usually spawning into a series down 0-2, and then they got to try to complete a reverse sweep or at least go all the way to the distance. These guys are unbelievable when they get here. You can see it, 4-0 on your screen. Ranks number 1, 1.15 team KD with 51% opening dual win percentage. I think that's the biggest focus of the stats that I'm going to be looking at, because in map number 2, out of the 10 rounds that we played, Minnesota found 8 of those first bloods. If you allow that to happen with the way that they play after they find that kill, which is non-stop teamwork, you're simply not going to play to your advantages every single time if you're Atlanta. So you cannot allow that category to get away from you, especially on a map like Protocol, where we know these gunfights can go down in the first 5-10 seconds.
And look, it's not just the fact that Minnesota had 8 of the first bloods. 5 of them were tallied against the BZ, who only had 2 eliminations in the 10 rounds that we played the first time through. But that feels like an eternity ago, especially considering how BZ's really turned up. He had a great map 3, obviously solid there in the map 4 as well. So just comes down to shaking that off and doing what we know he does best in this Protocol search, because like you mentioned, we're expecting a lot of drop downs through elevator, a lot of battles early and often in towards this bottom bomb site. Just comes down to who wins out in those opening trades, as we'll see Atlanta on the opening offense.
I love the initial play call to just take away bottom comms from
that works.
Top B2 play, and BZ just slides on in. He's able to catch a double, already off to a better start in this map than he did in the map number 2. But in the 3v2, Atlanta have the numbers. Bomb goes down. Hold your setup.
Yeah. Really good execution and just good game plan decisioning right there from Atlanta. As soon as you get the contact, you get a BZ on the pinch. Nearly goes for the ace. He actually does hit a shot midair versus Geo there, but instead, a chance for Geo to 1v3. He sees the shoulder of Celium. Does he catch him on the jump up top PCs? Unsure on where Simp is positioned, but you can definitely feel he's leaning over towards the elevator, and he almost gets the slide timing on it. Not to happen. The 3 kills for BZ, too strong to the opener.
Yeah, and a great initial play call right there from Atlanta FaZe to realize, okay, there's no presence over towards P2 side. I'm going to drop down that big door. We should have a couple freebies if they try to be the aggressive in towards A, but Minnesota Røkkr, you cannot afford those kind of rounds, because I think when we watched them yesterday versus Ultra, they were just playing to counter Ultra. You cannot do that versus a team like Atlanta FaZe, because they will do the same thing to you on the opposing end. And they showed it early into there, just using their information, dropping into the sites, playing their numbers, take round 1.
Yeah, nice little cheeky, again, contact play. Wait for the players at elevator to get the info, then a BZ pops. What does Minnesota have in store for us for their first offense? 3-player drop down for FaZe in towards A, and it's Draza up top by himself on the windows to take first blood. Bomb is still in hand for Estriel, but Minnesota have no map control now.
No, they have no map control. Now what you're sort of banking on if you are Minnesota is if Atlanta FaZe start to back up a little bit and play their numbers advantage and hopefully give up that A site. So that might be your only opportunity to clutch up on this round. You do have Geo who gains info onto Draza, but throwing shoulders, Draza's just going to play his life.
Yeah, that's kind of inconsequential, I think, for FaZe. Stuns, nades being cooked. This would need to land. Cell stuck in the corner, but the nade doesn't quite get through the doorway. Neither does that one. Wow, this FaZe defense was vulnerable here, but it doesn't make a difference. The shots are out, the nades don't land, and Paul's now by himself for 1v3.
Now Paul 1v3, bomb down in towards the site. Gonna work his way through barrels. Doesn't really have a lot of time to work with, and he's gonna get taken down by Draza. That round starts with Draza finding that first blood. It ends with Draza finding that final kill, and that's exactly how you need to play it if you are Atlanta. Just back up, play your numbers, find that early first blood, play to your advantages, and then when Minnesota thought that they had an opportunity, when Atlanta started to back up off of their setup at that A site, I think it might have really came down to that frag. Like, if that frag is able to connect onto Celium, they'll both be one shot. You can't fully commit on the gunfight if you're Simp. And potentially an opportunity there for Røkkr, but doesn't connect, and Atlanta take the round.
Yeah, I don't even think it's just one nade. I think there's 2 frags that bounce off the wall. Don't quite get all the way to that position that Simp and Cell were at. So FaZe will be up 2-0. Different look here. Opening nade lands onto Simp, the bomb carrier. Cell will counteract with the opening first blood for Atlanta. So we get an early 3v3, but the bomb down, Atlanta are going to have to take a moment to just recollect themselves.
Yeah, it was both teams right there realizing, okay, someone's got a first blood on that end. Okay, you got a first blood on our top windows. We got to back up and play safe at B, or we can now, if you're Atlanta FaZe, start to rotate your way back onto the spawn.
Whoa.
And that's exactly what happens. Now in a 2v1. Narrow force to clutch on up. Don't put it past him, though, Alan.
Yeah, and this is a good read from Nero knowing that Atlanta has Draza playing deep towards the backside of tower, he knows he can get behind this FaZe setup. The timing, though, is not great. Yeah, I mean, he would have maybe had an angle at Cell, but Draza was tracking behind him, and Draza will find 3. I love the idea from Minnesota there to try to double push out. It just comes down to the simple fact that Draza's holding a heady on that same angle.
Yeah, and that's just a good read out of Atlanta. They realize, okay, we're going to be aggressive over towards gun, try to allow us to work over towards that B site. No presence over towards tower. Most likely somebody from Minnesota Røkkr is going to try to take that away from us and work a deep pinch, but they time it perfectly. The double stack, the teamwork on display. And Draza having a takeover so far in this map number 5. Is now Atlanta sitting on 3 in a row. Draza on 5 in a row. Here comes the RC to slow this game down even more.
I was just about to say the RC being earned this early gives some major advantages to FaZe, but Minnesota going to go with tempo instead. Nade stuns, block off Spiral. They're going to get the early plant. So it's going to have to be retake here from FaZe, and you got to keep in mind that Simp is not a part of this at the moment, so you got to try to find some sort of an opener here for FaZe.
Yeah, retakes for FaZe last time they played versus Carolina didn't really work out at all. Have they fixed their setups? And it's looking like they're just waiting for front side pressure before Draza decides to make a play here. He's hoping he can at least pull the play from Minnesota Røkkr on the opposite side.
Yep. Yeah, Draza came for the first one to act, and he will not be. Paul still holding the angle, finds the kill. Simp, though, gets activated. He's off 2 in a row. Off the regen as well. Nearly chances at more, but Paul holds the position through the elevator shaft. And that'll be enough for Minnesota on their post plant to hold strong, dropping 2 in the process.
And that's why it tends to bother me a little bit when people start to play around RC cars for some of these rounds, because we realize we're playing protocol. We realize the RC car is not really going to be impactful in towards bottom comms. And when you use it to clear out over towards B side to make sure the aggression was going to be there, you give up all that site control. BZ's forced to back on down, and then the 4v4 recap in towards that kind of site is very difficult to do regardless of who you are. So Minnesota Røkkr able to put 1 on the board. Back to the defensive side they go, and then right now FaZe is just throwing a bunch of different looks at them. Now they're going all down towards B. I mean, A.
Yeah, with the trophy system, and they're going to try to just run right through Spiral here. Whoa, and Nero, he does catch one before dropping. Let's say, hello, good read, and whoa, nice shots from Abizi. Bomb planted simultaneously, 2v3.
Another difficult retake now for Røkkr. Again, left on the AR players playing over towards Big Door. Paul Lex potentially might have found the timing as he's already in towards the building.
Yeah.
He's finessing.
Yeah, he's found the first. The shots to Draza were decent, but could not quite finish. Gio stays sneaky, finds Abizi. Now on to Draza for the 1v2. Time running out, has to make a play. Sees Draza on the cross. Still holding him with the shoulder. Draza knows he's got the benefit of the clock, though, and this is going to run out on Gio. Yeah, not quite able to force the gunfight. Does find the kill, but it comes too late to allow for a defuse. Atlanta will get their 4th.
And that's Draza again, another 1v1 moment. I would have liked to see if Gio would have went to the bomb site to force Draza to overextend out of that zip, but every time he was throwing his shoulder, just gaining that info, time was getting away from you. And he's able to clutch up another round. Atlanta FaZe again, complete blind counter. We're talking about round number 1 on attacks. We attack through plat to get into the comp. Round number 2, we're going right through top mid. Round number 3, everybody through bottom zip. And Minnesota are looking like we sent everybody towards Big Door to try to contest it, but just were not prepared for the aggression coming in from FaZe.
Yep. And from Abizi in particular. Another 2 from him in the round. He has turned it around since map number 2. Quick action here from Røkkr. Opening shots, though, go the way of Cell. You have to slide through for FaZe. Actually gets them onto the bomb site, and Cell's not done. He gets a second. Estro completely crossed up as Abizi goes from left to right. Nero, he's stuck. He will get 1 and get away with the zip. No one's going to chase him, but the job's pretty much done, you would feel like, for FaZe. 3v1. Just do not get rid of this bomb that you have in your sight.
Oh, if they lose this, they need to disband this roster. Because it'll be an impossible task to try to lose this kind of round. Bomb down in towards A. You already gained info on where Nero was. He has to work in to kill all 3 of you. Yeah, this stands no chance, Alan. 5-1.
Slide out decent, but yeah, there's no way, no how. And that, just simply put, is a 4v4 bottom side at A. It's Cell getting 2 as both the SMGs slide past him. It's clean shots.
And Minnesota right there, they were thinking, Alan, that Atlanta FaZe are probably going to go with that slow approach again. You find yourself up 4-1, you can tend to slow down the pacing of the game a little bit because you don't want to try to make any mistakes. But they said, screw that. We're going to take that bomb site away from you because that's been the only round you've been able to find success in. So instantly shut it down. Another first blood on the back of Atlanta FaZe now puts them at game point.
It's been clean, it's been polished. This looks like the same thing Atlanta did in their first round. But Abeezy's got an AR this time. Nade stuns right into the face of Draza in front of Abeezy, but all 4 members will stay alive. Bomb carrier of Simp playing down low has also been naded, so he has to hold for a moment, and this is a chance for Røkkr to get this defense moving.
Another different look from Atlanta FaZe on this attack. Everyone preparing for the aggression coming in out of Røkkr, but that stun and that nade should be able to connect onto Estriel. They already have bottom comms control, so it's only a matter of time before Simp thinks about this plan.
Shots from the mid of Spiral, though. Paul's able to find Abeezy. Simp's tagged again. He can't go for the plant. And Minnesota have not taken more than they could shoot. Wait a second. That is not a great timing on the challenge. Nero off the pinch from door at least saves it kind of. And oh, there we go. Finally gets the second. But initially that slide out from Estriel was just a little bit too long. You thought maybe Atlanta was going to benefit from it, but Minnesota, good timing on the pinch from behind, suffocate the Atlanta offense and keep themselves alive.
Yeah, even with Simp finding that double, I still respect the timing on the chow out of Minnesota. They wanted to play to their advantages. They knew that they were already showing presence towards sides, so they said, screw it. We have 4, you have 3. Let's chow, let's chow, let's chow. And thankfully, it was able to work out with Nero catching that double, do double doors. Now they're able to stay alive into the search and destroy. But on the attacks is where they have tended to struggle a little bit. They've only found success with the aggression in towards A, but in Minnesota Røkkr, the adjustments need to come in quick.
Nero tagged up heavily. Yeah, that's where you're worried about. Actually, it's just wall bangs through the gun. Draza confirms first blood. Follow-up from Simp around the back, trying to put this round out of reach. Not quite able to confirm the kill. Hold on a second. Estriel is around the back, and what a win versus Celium. I was about to say, I don't think Cell saw him initially. So now we got a 2v2. Abeezy re-wrapping back in towards A. Draza nearby. And Abeezy may know that Estriel's on the corner. There's the stun out. The follow-up is perfect. It's just down to Paul. 1v2 situation. And he's stuck in a corner with an AR. First shots are good. Looks for the second, but cannot keep himself alive. Atlanta dominate map number 5 and punch a ticket to our first minor grand finals.
Just a mid-round adjustment, Alan. Way too strong on the side of Atlanta. Minnesota were not prepared for it. Multiple different looks on their attacking side, multiple different looks on the defensive side. They just were not prepared for all of Atlanta to take away top mid away from them. You were trying to be the aggressor on that side because you realized they just shut you down working your way in towards A. So let's try something different, but Atlanta were perfectly there to counter it. We're talking about that first map where Minnesota were able to find 8 out of 10 rounds first bloods. This time Atlanta FaZe turned it completely around. They walk away with 5, and Draza was the early guy for Atlanta FaZe who was really setting the tone with multiple kills, closing out moments, and Atlanta FaZe, they close out the series in 5.
What a series it was, though. Hell of an effort for Minnesota throughout it. I think in particular, you look at the 2 hard points and you say both of them were winnable. It just came down to the simple fact that Protocol, they were not rotating as well as FaZe were. FaZe were able to adapt, get a couple of key holds by the end, Celium in particular, kind of the hero there between P3 and P4. And then the red card,